The dinner rush at Rosie's diner had just begun, the air thick with the smell of frying bacon and sizzling burgers. Waitresses weaved between tables with practiced grace, balancing trays of fries, milkshakes, and steaming plates of meatloaf. The neon sign outside flickered open in weary red letters, buzzing faintly like a tired bee. That was when the door cracked open and a small figure slipped inside. 12-year-old Liam paused just inside the entrance, water dripping from the hood of his threadbare sweatshirt. His shoes squelched with every step as he shuffled toward the farthest booth, hoping no one would notice him. His cheeks were sunken, his hands trembling, not from cold alone, but from hunger that gnawed like a living thing inside him. He clutched a wrinkled dollar bill in his fist. It was all he had. He sat down carefully, as if afraid the vinyl seat might reject him, and stared at the laminated menu. He didn't read the words. He was simply calculating, could $1 get him anything? Maybe a slice of toast. A side of fries, maybe if they didn't look close. His stomach growled loud enough to startle him. He glanced around to see if anyone heard. A couple at the counter glanced his way, then quickly looked back at their plates. A group of teenagers snickered as one of them mimicked his hunched posture. A waitress offered a fleeting look of concern, but she was already being yelled at by the kitchen. Liam lowered his head, wishing he were invisible. He didn't see Marty coming. "What do we have here?" came a nasal voice right beside him. Liam jolted. Standing at the edge of the booth was Marty, the manager, stomach hanging over his belt, hair slicked back with so much gel it could deflect bullets. His smile didn't reach his eyes. "You lost, kid." Liam tried to speak, but his throat stuck. I was just what?" Marty leaned forward, eyes narrowing. "You ordering something?" Liam hesitated. Then, with shaking fingers, he placed the crumpled bill on the table. "I was hoping, maybe I could get something small." Marty picked up the bill and examined it like it was contaminated. $1. "Kid, this ain't a lemonade stand." Liam's face went red. "I'm really hungry." "I haven't." "Not my problem," Marty snapped. "You think this is some kind of charity? You can't sit here unless you're buying a real meal." "I'll pay back, I'll work." Liam stammered. "I can clean dishes or..." Marty snorted. "We don't hire stray dogs." The words hit harder than a slap. Before Liam could react, Marty grabbed his arm and yanked him out of the booth. Mister, please." But Marty was already dragging him toward the door. A few customers glanced over, discomfort flickering in their eyes, but no one spoke. No one moved. Outside, the rain had turned into a steady drizzle. Marty shoved the door open and practically tossed Liam onto the wet pavement. "Come back when you got money," he snarled. "And don't loiter. I'll call the cops." The door slammed shut. Liam sat on the curb, soaked, shaking, and utterly alone. Across the glass, people continued eating like nothing had happened. Then, beneath the rain, the ground began to rumble. Engines. Loud, roaring engines. Liam looked up. 5 motorcycles, black as midnight, were rolling into the parking lot. The motorcycles came to a halt like thunder fading into silence. Engines cut with synchronized growls, leaving the air electric. The rain pattered softly on chrome handlebars and leather jackets. Liam watched, frozen in place, as the men dismounted. They weren't the type of bikers people joked about. These were hard men, scarred knuckles, steel-toed boots, tattoos crawling up their necks like warning labels. Their jackets all bore the same emblem, a skull draped in chains with 2 scythes crossed behind it. Above it, stitched in bold white letters, Reaper's MC. The tallest one, with a gray beard braided into 2 thick ropes, scanned the diner before glancing down at Liam. "You all right there, son?" His voice was deep and gravelly, but not cruel. Liam stiffened, unsure if speaking was safe. He nodded weakly. "You look like you could use a roof, not a rain bath," the bearded biker grunted. Before Liam could respond, the biker's gaze shifted toward the diner window. Through the glass, Marty stood behind the counter, pretending not to notice them while clearly wishing he could sink into the floor. The biker's jaw tightened. "Boys," he said to the others. "We're eating here." The statement sounded less like a decision and more like a sentence. The bell above the diner door chimed as all 5 men strode inside. Rainwater followed them like fog. Conversation stopped mid-sentence. A fork clattered to a plate. Even the cook in the kitchen peered out through the pass shelf. Marty straightened, wiping his hands nervously on his apron. "Evenin', gentlemen. Table 4. The gray-bearded biker cut him off with a stare cold enough to frost windows. "Before that, who threw the kid outside?" Marty blinked rapidly. What kid? One of the younger bikers with a snake tattoo along his jaw scoffed. The one sitting in the rain like yesterday's trash. Marty hesitated. Oh, him, just a street rat trying to freeload. House policy. The gray-bearded biker planted both hands on the counter and leaned forward. Your policy is tossing starving children into the dirt. Marty's voice shrank. Look, sir, I don't make the rules. It's, don't lie to me. The words were quiet, but they hit like a gavel. The biker shifted his attention to the waitress, a kind-faced woman in her late 20s. Miss, I want the biggest booth you got. And I want that kid inside. She didn't hesitate. She dashed toward the door, ignoring Marty's sputtered protests. A moment later, she returned gently guiding a drenched Liam by the shoulders, draping a spare apron over him like a towel. The bikers moved to the largest booth in the corner. The gray-bearded man, clearly the leader, jerked his head. Sit with us, kid. Liam froze. His instinct screamed to refuse. To run. To avoid more humiliation. But the waitress whispered, it's okay, and gave him an encouraging smile. He slipped into the booth between two massive bikers. One slid a steaming mug toward him. Hot cocoa. Drink. Liam wrapped his cold fingers around it and took a sip. Warmth flooded his chest. For the first time that day, he didn't feel invisible. The gray-bearded biker looked up at Marty again. We're paying for everything, he said firmly. And how good your tip is depends on whether you serve fast, or whether we have to remind you what happens to people who forget their humanity. Marty swallowed hard. He didn't argue again. The plates came out fast, faster than anyone in the diner had ever seen. Burgers stacked high with bacon and melted cheese, baskets of fries overflowing like golden waterfalls, steaming bowls of chili so fragrant the entire diner seemed to exhale. But nobody touched their food. Not yet. They watched Liam. The boy hesitated at first, glancing between the bikers as if expecting someone to yank the plate away. But when the bearded biker gave him a slow nod, Liam picked up a fry. One fry became three. Three became a fistful. Then he grabbed the burger with both hands, biting into it like it was a miracle. Grease smeared across his cheeks. His eyes watered, not from heat, but from relief. He chewed fast, swallowing even faster, as if afraid time would run out. The bikers didn't laugh. They didn't comment. They just ate quietly beside him, occasionally sliding more food toward his plate like it was the most ordinary thing in the world. Meanwhile, the rest of the diner had gone silent. The couple at the counter who had ignored him earlier now watched with guilt painted across their faces. The group of teenagers put their phones down, suddenly less amused by their own existence. Even Marty had retreated to the kitchen window, peering out like a criminal awaiting judgment. The bearded biker finally spoke, wiping his mouth with a napkin. What's your name, son? Liam, the boy said between bites. I'm Jackson, the man replied. He jerked a thumb at the others. That's Red, Snake, Diesel, and Tank. The one called Snake leaned in with a grin. Guess which one's Tank? Liam glanced at the enormous, stone-faced man on his left. The plate before him looked like a child's dish compared to his fists. Liam managed a tiny laugh. Jackson's tone grew softer. You got folks around here. Liam stared at his food. No, he swallowed hard. My mom got sick last year. She needed surgery but, we didn't have insurance. She didn't. His voice cracked. Red gently set a hand on the table. You don't gotta finish, kid. My dad left before I was born. I've been sleeping where I can. A hush fell over the table. Tank, who had barely spoken, rumbled, not anymore. Jackson met Liam's eyes. You're with us now. Liam stared at him, confused. What do you mean? Jackson leaned back, voice steady and final. Means you don't go hungry again. Means if anyone lays a finger on you, they answer to us. The boy's lip trembled. You're serious? Jackson nodded. Son, when reapers give their word, it's carved in stone. He turned toward the counter and flicked a thick wad of bills onto it. The money slapped down like a verdict. That covers his meals for the next month. He walks in, he eats. No questions. Marty stood frozen, pale as dough. And if I hear different, Jackson added, voice dropping to a razor's edge, we'll be back. He didn't blink. Marty finally swallowed. Understood. Jackson ruffled Liam's hair and stood. The others rose with him, leather creaking like armor. As they made their way to the door, Jackson paused. You coming, kid? Liam glanced back at the booth, the empty plates, the place where everything had changed. He stood. One step, then another. He followed them into the rain. And for the first time in a long time, he didn't feel like a stray. He felt like family.